Children with autism really benefit from speech-language therapy. Some of the reasons that they do benefit so well from this is that they typically do not have the language development skills that other children do have. Usually by the age of 3, children should be talking in short sentences, 2 to 3 words. They should be intelligible. And children with autism by the age of 3 might not be talking at all, or they might be using grunts, tantrums, or short-sounding words that really don't make any sense with the situation. They might repeat a word that they heard yesterday or 3 days ago to communicate. So children with autism, when they go to speech therapy, they can learn how to use words. They can learn the motor skills needed to create speech, because some of these children do lack the motor coordination skills to move the mouth and the tongue in the way that is needed to create speech. So some of the things that an SLP can do with children with autism is teach them how to use an AAC, which is an augmentative and alternative communication device. So these devices are actually really awesome. My cousin uses one, and he doesn't speak, but through this he can tell us what he wants. So the one that he has, there's a bunch of different ones. Some of them are on apps. Some of them are there's boards that you can use that will speak for you. You click a picture and it speaks. The one that my cousin has is a big book. It's like a binder, and there's different tabs. So one of the tabs is food. One of them is, bedtime. One of them is, daily activities. So he can flip to the tab that he needs, and so one of them is food. So then there's chicken fingers and mac and cheese, fork, please, etc. And he points to what he wants. So in this way we can tell what he wants, and he doesn't have to speak. So a speech-language pathologist could actually help the child learn how to use this. And that one is pretty kind of self-explanatory. It's a lot easier to use. Some of them are more complicated, I suppose, such as the ones on an iPad, or ones that are, or actually will be ones with boards, and an SLP has to coordinate them so they pick the different types of buttons that they want on there. So, depending on the age of the child, they might graduate from one form of an AAC to a new form of an AAC. Such as the one my cousin uses. He is 15 years old. He's been using it probably since he was like 12. But would one with a bunch of options work best for a 3-year-old? No. So a speech-language pathologist can help determine the best one for the child and teach them how to use it, and teach the parents how to use it. They can also teach children sign language, which is sometimes beneficial. My friend's little brother has autism. He knows sign language. He knows probably 100 signs. And he will use that sometimes. He used to use that a lot more to communicate. Not so much anymore. But it was a way to let the family know what he wanted to say. Speech-language pathologists can also help with actual conversation rather than sign language or using an AAC. So they can help them learn how to understand what other people are saying, because sometimes children with autism might not understand what they're being told, or learn how to follow directions. They don't understand what they're being asked to do. And it can also teach them how to use, instead of using language or using a mixture of language and gestures, because children with autism typically do use, point for food or something like that. It can also really teach the children how to make eye contact when they're talking, or how to, use your words instead of throwing a tantrum, which is a typical thing that happens. So an SLP can actually do a lot. They can work with, depending on the age of the child, again, they can work with the child to read a book, probably a small book starting out. Read books, read sentences, read words, depending on the severity of the autism, the age of the child, and their language development at the time. So really, an SLP can do a lot with language, but another cool thing that an SLP can do for a child with autism is help them with their food. So speech language pathologists aren't always just about speaking. We also work with swallowing a lot. And a lot of children with autism only eat a small number of food. For example, again, my cousin strictly eats chicken fingers, mac and cheese, and pizza. So he tends to have chicken fingers for breakfast and lunch and dinner. So a speech language pathologist can actually work with children who have a very small, limited number of foods that they will eat and get them to expand their food preferences. So they could teach them to accept new textures. That's a lot of the problem with my cousin, for example. He doesn't like texture, soft foods like applesauce and bananas or something. So an SLP can work with the child to teach them how to use these new, or how to accept these new textures, new tastes, and, really work with them to expand the amount of foods that they eat. They also might have problems with swallowing, which could also be a reason that maybe they only like to eat soft foods. Maybe they have a hard time swallowing harder foods. So an SLP can work with these children to work on their swallowing skills, to really get them to use the muscles so that way they can slowly start to expand to harder foods, which can really be beneficial to the child as well as the parent, because I know it's probably very stressful to only be able to feed your child like 3 foods instead of the wide range of foods that anyone else can eat. So those are just some of the things that speech language pathologists can help children with autism with.